Sorry. Tell me when.
We're recording.
Okay. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today. Sorry, it was a little bumpy beginning here. My name is Claire Brelio. I'm the Communications and Business Instruction Resource Director for the Economic Development Collaborative and the Small Business Development Center, which serves Ventura and Santa Barbara County. And today we're going to be talking about how to build your business through Instagram. And I just wanted to say thank you for everyone attending. A few housekeeping rules before I introduce Erin Fredrick, who is one of our EDC SBDC marketing advisors, and she teaches on branding and Instagram, and I just am very grateful that she has joined us today to present to you. So let's see, I'll give it a couple more seconds. I see more people entering. Just a few housekeeping rules. Remember that if you have technical questions or technical issues, use the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. And if you have questions during Erin's presentation, which I know you will, she has a bunch of really good information to share with you today. She will answer those questions at the end. So go ahead and type in your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, and she'll have a chance to answer them at the end. We are joined by Visionality, Emily Barony and her team, so thank you for that. They will be helping facilitate the Q&A and any back-end issues that may crop up. With that being said, I want to introduce Erin Fredrick. You can see her on the right side of your screen. Erin joined us about a year ago, or has it even been that long? I don't know. It feels like.
Yeah, I think October. Yeah.
Okay, October. So she runs her own business. She's super smart, super savvy, and it's in Santa Barbara currently, and so serving a number of our clients there. And we will thank you, Emily, for that reminder. This is being recorded. We will have this up on our website within a few days, if I can get my act together by then. And yeah, so Erin, you can take it from here and have fun, everyone.
Cool. Thank you, Claire. So I'm so excited to have you guys all join us. I'm Erin Fredrick. Like Claire said, I'm one of the business advisors at Economic Development Collaborative, and I also have a boutique social media agency called Robe & Signet, which services small businesses and startups with all your social marketing needs from strategy to implementation. So let's get into it. Let's see. Oops. All right, so if you guys are here, you're probably not gonna need any convincing about the importance of social media, especially Instagram for your business marketing needs, but I just wanted to touch on some of the reasons why businesses should seriously consider it, especially in this day and age. And so let's see, just trying to flip through here. You know, one of the big reasons why businesses should seriously be considering Instagram is just for the sake of trust and credibility alone. I think it's just the new norm, and it's been for a while for all businesses to have some kind of social media presence, especially Instagram. And so when businesses don't have any sort of social presence, it's kind of a red flag. It makes you wonder if it's a legitimate business, if they're still, you know, running or an operation. And the other part just about like having that social proof on your Instagram account is really big for building that trust and credibility with new visitors or new customers who maybe haven't heard of you before. So seeing, you know, your real following, real comments and likes, seeing tagged posts, testimonials all really help with making it that much easier for your ideal customer to purchase a product from you or to convert. Another reason why businesses should seriously consider Instagram is just for the aspect of brand awareness alone. According to Instagram, 60% of people say that they discover new products on Instagram. And also just with, you know, a incorporation of both paid and organic social tactics. So like Instagram advertising, influencer collaborations, and influencer marketing, just all of those combined can really drastically increase your awareness among your specific audience that would actually be interested in your products. It's also great for discoverability, which is very similar to brand awareness, but also not, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. Just for SEO purposes alone, it can be great considering that social channels appear with your website on the first page of search results, which is amazing. And also it can indirectly improve your brand's SEO ranking. I'm not, an SEO expert by any means, but I've, read online just according to Opt-in Monster that, if you're on social media more, there is, it follows a logic that there's a likelihood that people will be linking more to your company and your social media, which just really helps improve your brand's SEO ranking so much. So all that being said, this was all true before the pandemic. I think back then, especially mom and pop shops and small businesses saw social media marketing as just, something that would be nice and convenient, but always kind of lower down on the priority list. But now, especially given the current economy and the health crisis that we're still, navigating through, it really is a must for businesses to remain competitive and profitable in our new normal. So now that we've pretty much jumped on the Instagram bandwagon, let's kind of go into the steps of setting up your Instagram business account. So I assume you probably, if you're attending this, you probably have already created an Instagram account and have your username. And so if you still have a personal Instagram account, I would highly recommend switching it over to a business or creator account. So before we get into that, a common question I get asked is, whether or not, businesses need to switch over to a business or a professional account. And so I just kind of went through all of the different reasons and added a chart here for you guys to see what the differences and similarities are. Pretty much both business and creator accounts offer all the same features, except with the exception of the contact options, where if you are a business account, you have access to all the different contact options versus a creator where it only gives you the email and phone number. So this is great for like online service providers or content creators, influencers, or remote service providers who don't have a physical location and don't want to be providing that information. That's perfect for them. So yeah, once you've kind of created the business or creator account, then you'll want to connect your Facebook page to your Instagram account. And kind of once you connect your Instagram account to your Facebook page, which I've noticed a lot of business owners kind of forget about, you'll have access to all of these different features which are listed here. One of which is Instagram shopping, which I know is a very popular topic among business owners, especially those who sell products. That will be a requirement if you want to have access to that shopping feature. Also, you can run Instagram and Facebook ads from your Facebook page. And one of my favorite features is the unified inbox, in which you can manage your Instagram and Facebook messages from your Facebook page as a universal inbox. That's like huge for me, which it's ironic because I absolutely hate texting and responding to anything on my phone. So like when they came out with this feature, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. It just kind of like helps with the workflow so that I don't have to be like responding to messages on the desktop and then texting out responses on my phone. So that's one of my favorite features. Also, you have access to the cross-app tools like appointment booking buttons and donation stickers, and a lot more that I haven't included in this list. So once you've gone through the first couple of steps, you'll want to add in your business's contact information. And as you can see here, these are the two differences between the business and creator accounts, just so you see what the options are. Once you've added that in, okay, this is actually a feature that I haven't taken advantage of and didn't really know about. So I've definitely learned about this from kind of preparing for this webinar. You can actually add an action button on your Instagram account, and this is great for service-based businesses. And so I took the liberty of going through this entire list of partners and have categorized which are great for which industry. So I noticed that there was a big a big priority towards the beauty and wellness, just because that big list that you see right there is all specifically like for salons and barbershops and like spas and such. And then the second list, you know, these are industry, for all industries essentially. I've used Acuity and I love Acuity, but I'm sure all the other options that they've included here work great too. Yeah, so after that, what's interesting is this is kind of confusing for me too. They actually have two options for action buttons. So I just wanted to make that distinction here. You can also add another action button here, and this is great for service-based businesses and also businesses that sell food, so restaurants and food trucks, and perhaps nonprofits or for-profit companies, just based on the options they have here. So for the gift cards, that could be great for service-based businesses, not just hair salons, but maybe like freelancers, if you know they wanted to give a gift to another business owner, or somebody wanted to purchase a gift for another business owner for like maybe like a free consultation, legal consultation or marketing consultation, you could use the gift card option. And then, you know, they have all of these different partners for ordering food and then also for donations. So if you were to be fundraising or hosting a fundraiser on Facebook, there is that option to add that donate action button there. After that, you'll want to set a category, which is optional. You don't have to do it, and you can also hide it if you're not interested in it. It's like nominal. Don't really see, like, you don't have to have it, but if you want to, you can add that there. And then finally, you'll want to optimize your Instagram bio. So I really wanted to touch on this because it can be great for discoverability. Here I've just included an example of EDC's Instagram account just because I wanted to demonstrate the importance specifically of the name. So if you see in the bold black text, it says EDC only. So if you were, let's say EDC were only in Santa Barbara and hypothetically, and then let's say that they only wanted to reach Santa Barbara businesses, if you put EDC Santa Barbara in there or whatever other keyword, it's great because if they're not searching for EDC, but just typing in Santa Barbara in the search engine within Instagram, it can show up for that, which is great. So I don't think a lot of people know that, so I wanted to make sure to include that. From there, you'll want to add in your website or whatever landing page that you want to direct people to based on whatever post you have that you're directing people to take a certain action. You can include that in that one link in bio. And with that said, when you have, with an Instagram account, you only have access to one URL, one place to put a URL, but once you do reach 10,000 followers, you have an option to include swipe up links in your stories. So something to keep in mind. And then finally with the bio, you'll want to include a description of, you know, your products and services, of course. It's also a great place to include your company's unique value proposition. So essentially that's just what makes your company different, better, what is your company's differentiator compared to your competitors. And it's also a great place to include any branded hashtags to encourage, you know, user-generated content for people to use your hashtag when they are, you know, perhaps eating at your restaurant or going to your salon and taking a photo and using your hashtag so that it shows up in that branded hashtag. So now that we've, you know, finished setting up your Instagram business or creator account, I just wanted to touch on all the different content types that you have at your disposal on Instagram. This is probably really basic for a lot of people who are watching this, but just in case there's anyone that, you know, isn't familiar at all with Instagram and what they have to offer, I wanted to touch on this. So, you know, like you see on the right side in the Instagram profile, you see all the squares, that's the feed. So you have options to post one single image, a video, or a carousel with multiple images or multiple videos or both images and videos. And I believe that it's up to 8 assets that you can share in a carousel post. Then you have stories, which are 15-second images or videos that show up at the top of users feed and have a visibility of 24 hours. So after 24 hours, they will disappear. And then for anyone who wants to specifically keep those Instagram stories visible for longer than that, for an indefinite amount of time, that's when Instagram came out with highlights, where you can curate the different stories that you post on your Instagram account and then categorize them and add them. So if you see at the top under the follow button, you'll see the different highlights that many accounts will pin there. So that's there's that option too. And I just want to make a note that stories don't have to be super polished and curated. It can be much more casual, off the cuff, have more of a behind the scenes feel. That was really the intent of it. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And then finally, IGTV is Instagram's option for long form vertical or horizontal video. So that could be, I think it was up to 15 minutes of video, and with a 16:9 vertical video dimension or horizontal video now, so they have that option too. Now, now that we've like gone over all the different types of content, you know, this just brings up like a common question that, you know, I receive once I've like gone over all this with a lot of business owners. People are always like, okay, so I, you know, understand all these features and, you know, there's all these types of content, but like, I don't know what to post, or I can't consistently post. I don't have time for it. You know, all of these questions, and it just brings up a universal principle that everybody knows, you know, pretty much, which is that, you know, if you like a plan, or no, a goal without a plan is just a wish. Yes, I almost butchered that. But essentially, if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a schedule and some kind of strategy behind it, it's likely that when you are showing up on Instagram, your content quality and your messaging is probably suffering as a result. So you'll really want to create a content plan to set yourself up for success. But let me see. Oh yeah, before we get into the content planning process, you should definitely ask yourself the following questions, which I've included. I found that a lot of business owners, you know, have the answers to these questions abstractly in their mind, but they've never really written it down or like fleshed it out. And I feel like that's a huge element to really being successful on Instagram and accomplishing the goals that you want to accomplish there. So I would really recommend going through all of these questions and writing it down somewhere, you know, things like your target audience, being extremely specific, even creating a couple of customer personas. So, you know, something as specific as my ideal customer is millennial Megan, who's 24 years old, shops at Lululemon, and likes to drink smoothies on the weekend, hang out, like super, super specific. You want to get extremely granular with that information. Also, really hashing out what your company's unique value proposition is, which I touched on earlier. Again, something that's different about your company. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that makes you better. Maybe your other competitors kind of do the same thing, but what makes you different is that you, you know, maybe have a very sassy or, you know, cheeky way of doing things. Maybe it's all on the company's brand persona that makes you very different. So you want to write all of that out and flesh that out. And then it's always helpful to, you know, look into what your competitors are doing online and seeing, you know, what's working and what's not working. So not just only looking at their Instagram account, but seeing, you know, what are they doing on their website? What other social media platforms are they on? What content seems to be performing well? What content seems to not be performing well? And getting those nuggets of information and seeing if there are any hidden opportunities that you might not have noticed for you to kind of go in and capture more of that market. Also, you'll want to write down your goals, financial and both non-financial. So if you are a products-based business, for example, you want to write down your monthly, quarterly, or yearly revenue goals. Maybe if there are certain product categories that you know have great margins that you want to sell more on Instagram, and are already popular, you can, set that certain number in this exercise. I want to sell, X units of inventory of so-and-so product. And then non-financial, maybe you're trying to get into a new market, you're already established in a different industry and you're trying to, enter a new industry. Maybe you're trying to build customer loyalty, so you're trying to receive repeat purchases. Those are all important to write down. And then, translating these goals into social media goals and metrics. So, does any of those financial and non-financial goals, can we connect them to social media metrics, like maybe more followers or engagement, or a certain conversion rate, or perhaps more web traffic, things of that nature. So now that you've probably once you've gone through all of those questions, that's when we can start kind of creating your content calendar, and we can start with your seasonal promotions and sales that maybe you already have planned ahead of the year. Any hashtag holidays. This is a great source of content inspiration, especially for me when I can't think of what to post either for clients. You can easily just go on Google and type in 2020 hashtag holidays, and you'll see a bunch of free resources that give you a full list for the entire year. So it's a great way of creating organic content that's brand building and engaging for your target audience. Then you'll also want to add in your owned media, which is, anything of your own that you're creating in terms of content. So whether that be an email marketing schedule, blogging strategy you have, any white papers or freebies that you're producing under a certain timeline or as part of some other kind of campaign that you're running. And then earned media. So if you have any podcasts you're going to be on, if you're going to be featured in some local newspaper, or you're working with some influencers, or that a product review is going to come out at a certain date, you'll want to coordinate all of that so that you can also amplify those certain events within that timeline for maximum brand awareness or reach, or whatever goal that you have for that earned media. So here is, just an outline that I grabbed from HubSpot, which I love. And it just gives you a really high level overview that you can easily kind of drag and drop all of those different elements that we had just kind of talked about in the previous slide. And you can go as far as color coordinating it. That's why I love this whole thing. It's just a really easy high level overview of everything you have planned. So you can create this in a spreadsheet if you'd like. And then after that, you can get even more granular with your content scheduling by creating maybe a tab in that spreadsheet and adding all of the different scheduled posts there. So this is just specifically for Instagram that I created on my own from Google Spreadsheets. So as you can see, I added the day and the date and time, and then the campaign or theme. So these would just be the different content buckets that you're trying to fill that we've just covered. And then keep in mind for Instagram, like I've mentioned, you can only have one link in your bio. So I included that column so that you have easy access to those links every time you have to switch them out for whatever post you have that you're going to be sharing in coordination with that. So yeah, now that you've kind of planned, sorry, my husband's walking next to me trying to not disturb. Now that you have that spreadsheet and that kind of whole plan and calendar set up and ready for you, it's time to drag and drop the different content types that you have at your disposal. So, maybe you already have brand photography that you had done for you by a professional photographer. That could be product and lifestyle. You can kind of plug and play in your content calendar, that content type. You can also create social graphics. And I think that's been really increasing in popularity lately on Instagram. Not to say that high quality brand photography isn't still popular, but I think there's a certain off the cuff rawness and how do you say it? It's maybe unpolished and doesn't feel commercialized, that it does tend to perform really well. So this is a great opportunity for, business owners that don't always want to be paying for photography or, don't always want to be taking photos. They could just, repurpose maybe a tweet that they shared, kind of like I did here, or maybe grab a testimonial and like overlay it onto a picture from a customer, things of that nature. And then memes, you can always create your own memes or repost other memes. And then also for Instagram, you can also, you know, find more content ideas or share more content by researching different industry articles and news that would be relevant to your marketing or for your branding. And then like I touched on earlier, you can repurpose user-generated content. So any tagged posts on your Instagram that speak to your product, speak to your brand, or speak to your service are great content sources to repurpose for Instagram. Yeah, so I recognize that like a lot of times businesses are not going to be able to, you know, constantly have at their disposal professional photography. So that's why I wanted to touch on a lot of like content creation best practices that business owners can incorporate into their photography, you know, to kind of fill in their social media calendar. So here are just some photography best practices that I think everybody can benefit from. And if anybody has, you know, an iPhone or an Android phone, I'm sure that, you know, you would be able to take amazing content, amazing photography, if you just incorporate these best practices. So here are just, you know, just basic lighting concepts are just, you know, using natural light. If you have, you know, windows nearby you, or, you know, you have a backyard, that would be a great place to be taking photos, taking content. In terms of just like sitting, or in terms of taking photography indoors, it would be just make sure to be sitting in front of a light source instead of it being behind you, just so it like naturally kind of illuminates your face or whatever you're taking photos of. And then if you're outdoors in the backyard or something like that, I would recommend just taking photos, you know, in the shade or whatever, instead of being directly in sunlight, as you would be very overexposed and it wouldn't make for a great photo. And then if you don't always have access to natural light, or you're taking a lot of photography in the dark, you know, artificial light can also be used. So you can easily purchase some products on Amazon, like a light box or a ring light. And then also another thing that you'll want to incorporate into your photography is the rule of thirds. So this is just a principle that states that, you know, if you take a photo or take a photo of a subject along these lines that you see in this photo, it'll make for a really good frame for a photo. So if the subject is just along any of these lines or any of these intersections, it'll typically make for a great photo. And a lot of these same principles apply from the photography best practices to also videos. So if you're doing a lot of tutorials and showing up on camera a lot, just basics like having good eye contact, you know, projecting your voice, having a lot of energy and always smiling. Sometimes, especially for me, I think I can come off a little bit dead or bored or tired because I'm just not used to being in front of the camera. I'm used to being behind the scenes all the time. So sometimes what helps is just like playing some really good hype music to get me, you know, excited and get my energy up. And another important thing to keep in mind if you are creating video is to always add subtitles if there is anybody talking or any kind of voiceover, just because most videos, you know, across social channels are watched with no sound. And maybe because they're, you know, in the car or like as a passenger, or, you know, on the bus or something like that, or maybe they're in bed. So something to keep in mind. And also sometimes like when you're speaking, it's not always clear. People might not always understand depending on the audio quality. And then, like I'd said before, same photography lighting concepts apply. And then finally, camera angles are very important too. For selfie videos, you'll want to shoot at eye level as much as possible. So not having it too high up here or too low is great. And it also feels much more natural when it's eye level, just because when we're talking to people, it's always at eye level and that's our view, something to keep in mind. But if, let's say you're doing a lot more like action video, or you do want to do a tutorial with your iPhone but don't have access to your hands, you can again purchase a tripod on Amazon or purchase a gimbal, which is great for stabilizing your phone so that it's not shaky when you capture video. So while you're creating, you know, all of that content, it's important to keep in mind that the content that you are creating is adhering to a consistent look and feel. And so that's why I've included a brand style guide. I've just included my company as an example to give you an idea. So, you know, this is just the color palette that I have. So as you can tell, it's on the warmer side, more warmer tones. So when you are doing more photography, you might want to add more warm filters to your photos. When you're creating social graphics, you'll want to, you know, be using the same fonts that you use on your website and everything. And then brand voice, when it comes to, like, again, the social graphics and then captions, you'll want to make sure it adheres to the same voice that you have, just so that, excuse me, just so that, you know, when anybody sees your content in their feed, or maybe, you know, even sees your advertising anywhere else, that it's always memorable, distinctive, and clear that it's your brand. I mean, if you think of like Nike and McDonald's or any other very well-known brand, you can always immediately tell what brand it is wherever, on whatever social channel or whatever marketing medium it's on. So just something to keep in mind for your social media content. So speaking more on brand voice, you know, in terms of creating social media content, the captions are very, very important for social media success as well. So here are just a few tips that I've included when you're experimenting with post caption writing. First off is to experiment with the caption length. I think, you know, it really depends on the account and the service or the product that you're selling, but I've noticed that some accounts do really well with long form content, even writing like mini blogs in their Instagram posts. So it's something that you'll want to play around with and see if that does well for your brand. I know that it helps a lot just in terms of the algorithm sometimes, because it will require the reader to like read it or be on that post for a longer amount of time. And if you are writing at length about something, it's probably going to invoke a deeper level of engagement from your followers. So if you are doing that, I would recommend including line breaks for easier readability, because nobody wants to be reading like a full block of text with no like break in sight. But that's not to say that short, cheeky captions don't work equally well. It's just something that you're going to have to experiment with. There are no hard and fast rules. Yeah, it's all experimentation. Also, you'll want to test out and experiment with writing a really catchy hook. Just having that first line in your post be an attention grabber immediately, just because when you do write, you know, more than a few sentences in an Instagram post, it's going to truncate that when you're looking through your feed. So you want to make sure that that first line really draws people's attention. And then finally, you know, play around with different calls to action. If you don't ask people to act upon a post that they're reading, they're not going to do it. So you'll want to, you know, switch it up based on the goal of each post that you share. So if you want somebody to purchase a purse that you're selling and you have it pictured in the Instagram post, then tell them to, you know, click the link in bio to shop. Or if it's more informational, you can also tell them to save this post for later or to bookmark it, because that is another indicator to the Instagram algorithm that it's a quality post that should be shown to other people. So with all that being said, I have a few final thoughts that I also wanted to include here with, you know, your social media content calendar and your Instagram marketing in general. When you're marketing on social media, just try to think about it as like a digital replica of a networking party. When you're meeting somebody for the first time, you don't want to be constantly sold to and before you even like really get to know them. It just feels disingenuous, it feels icky. So make sure to create a balance between the brand building content and the hard sells. Don't always be telling people to buy in every post that you share. Make sure to incorporate more things about your brand or your team or your values or things of that nature in your content. And then I've brought this up so many times because it really does help so much to take advantage of user generated content, because it's just kind of like word of mouth marketing. Any source of just reviews and testimonials really help with building that credibility and trust, and it directly has an impact on your sales overall. So use that to and just to your advantage, and repurpose that into email content, Instagram content, social media content. And then, like I've said, with a lot of these things here, these are best practices, but they're not laws or rules by any means. Rules are all meant to be broken. That's why I keep saying experiment, experiment, experiment. Even though I may offer these suggestions based on my experience, it could be very different for you. So always kind of see what performs best, whether that be, video content on IGTV, different story content types, times of day, video, photo, different colors, camera angles, maybe different products, and also just the times of day and the days of the week. So if you want to know like when is the best or when gets the most engagement or reach, you can just be like, for the next week, I'm only going to post on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at like 8 a.m. And then the week after you can change it to a different time of day. And then the week after you can change it to a different time of day. And then you'll start developing all of this data that you can extrapolate from to figure out really what makes the most sense for your brand and your audience. Which leads me to my last point, which is to really take advantage of Instagram Insights. There's so much information there that you can really benefit from, because it shows you everything from the age of your audience to location and the times of day that they're most active. So you'll want to use that as a baseline for when you share different types of content. So that would be important to keep in mind for when you schedule content and when you take time to engage with your followers. So that means like liking and following and commenting and things of that nature. So yeah. I also wanted to bring up that next week we'll be doing another webinar with these following topics. So if you want to join, I think Claire would have more information about that. But thank you so much for attending.
Ready for some Q&A?
Yes, I am.
Is Instagram primarily for retail, product selling to retail customers? Is it a good thing for management consulting firms selling services B2B?
I would say yes, only if your audience, the B2B, would be very active on Instagram. If you think the decision makers are going to be active on Instagram, then 100%. I would recommend, finding maybe other niche accounts on Instagram that cater to the same audience. I'm just thinking of like, maybe if you're trying to reach more accountants or lawyers, for example, there are actually a lot of meme accounts on Instagram that share humorous content that only lawyers, for example, would find funny. So I would like go to those different types of Instagram accounts to see if, there is a sizable audience to make it worth spending your time on Instagram to be doing something like that. Yeah.
So that's interesting. If your target customer fits into a certain professional category, or maybe even if there are commonalities between your decision makers to see if there are meme accounts. See, this is why you teach this webinar and I don't. All right. When Instagram users click on your bio link that is directed to your website, what, if any, user information is available, like IP, location, demographics?
Sorry, can you repeat that? What is available when somebody clicks the link in?
Yeah, if someone goes from Instagram and clicks the link in your bio, is there any user information that you can collect, like IP address, location, or demographics?
I don't think you can collect IP address information. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. But if your website that you're linking people to has Google Analytics or some kind of digital analytics connected to that website, then it would be able to collect that data that you can see in the back end in the dashboard.
So it's on your website. It's on the receiving website side, not on the pushing Instagram side.
It would also be on the push on the Instagram side within Instagram Analytics, but it would just be a very high level overview of their location and demographics and stuff. Yeah.
Great. And I'm seeing a couple questions come in the chat. So if you would do me a big favor and repost those in the Q&A, I would super appreciate it. Okay, next question. Could you touch on the prohibited versus allowed verbiage for business on Instagram, both for regular content and paid ads? I know there's something about not posing a question in the content as it relates to the sale of goods.
I don't think that those really exist for organic, just social media content, but there are very different guidelines for paid social that, I mean, I know for, you know, Facebook and Instagram ads, you have to be very careful about things like not saying you or your too much or kind of implying some kind of personal attribute when you are advertising or running ads. But I don't think the same things apply for, you know, Instagram posts. Yeah, at all.
Great. Any suggestions on running a giveaway as a way to generate clicks or followers?
Oh, yeah. Giveaways are great. I think you should, first of all, experiment with the length of your Instagram giveaways. Maybe like just do a weekend rather than like a week. Just because I've found sometimes with giveaways, when you have it last as long as a month or a week, it kind of loses steam because it loses people's attention. So if you shorten the length of that Instagram giveaway to like 3 days or something, it really adds that sense of urgency and makes people feel like, oh, they have to do it right now and enter right now. So that's one thing that I would experiment with. And then let's see. Also just, you know, having it, or having the call to action or having the requirement be to follow and, you know, tag a couple of people in the comments is a great way to not just gain followers who stumble upon your giveaway, but also to encourage their friends to enter it as well, because then they'll be tagged by a familiar face or name.
Great. How do you get line breaks when you post captions?
Yep, that's it's really frustrating. I don't know how else to like tell you guys how to do it. I was able to honestly grab it from later.com. Okay, Later is a free Instagram or social media scheduling resource, and if you create a free account with them, and like I hate to like push a product, I'm not trying to, it's just that's the only way that I was able to get the line breaks is like when I was scheduling content in there and would like press enter to create the new line breaks and then like copied all that text, I noticed that they added these visible line breaks, which helped me then to get those line breaks. But maybe if you like Google it or something, you might be Instagram line breaks. I think that would be able to help too. It's just, they're like invisible blocks that I've kind of, you know, kept in my notes this entire time, but gosh, I'm sorry.
And you can also use a period, right, to create some space. So if you click enter and then just enter a period and then click enter again, it creates that sense of space.
It hasn't always worked for me though, that's the thing. So, I mean, if that works, yeah, definitely. I've seen other people do that too. But sometimes it hasn't worked for me either. Instagram glitches, I don't know.
Weird. What is a tabbed post?
Tabbed. Do they mean saved post?
Tracy, repost your question and give us a little more information. It could be saved maybe or tagged with a G.
Oh, tagged post.
No, she wrote with a B, but maybe what she meant was with a G.
Oh, tagged posts are, they're what, let me see. They're what show up on, here, let me go to EDC and try to show you guys. If you look here, and you tap the third tab on the right, you'll see all these posts that are tagged. These are tagged posts. So that's pretty much when somebody is sharing or publishing a post and they tag your Instagram account in the image or the video, then it shows up as a tagged post to that specific Instagram account.
Got it. How do you edit a comment that you already made?
I think you would just have to delete it and reshare it or recomment. Yeah.
Okay. Can you cast a wider net with your post by using hashtags? What makes an individual
100%.
want to follow you?
What makes, you can definitely cast a wide net with hashtags. I would also, I recognize that I put so much information in here, so I didn't touch on that intentionally. But I would recommend using all 30 hashtags and doing a combination of different different topics. So let's say let's say you sell bags and you have a retail, or maybe you have a retail shop, you sell clothing and accessories in Santa Barbara, and you want to get more Santa Barbara fashionistas to, like, I don't know, see your Instagram or see your post. You can do a combination of Santa Barbara hashtags. So Santa Barbara lifestyle, Santa Barbara style, Santa Barbara, California. And then you can also do, like, you know, luxury handbag type hashtags, just, you know, throwing in different types of hashtags to make up all 30. Because, I mean, they give you all 30, so why not take advantage of it? And then the second question is, what makes somebody want to follow you?
Yeah, and we actually have two questions in the same vein. So can you take one step way back and tell us what the heck a hashtag is and what it does and what the point is?
A hashtag pretty much is, it's like a search query or a keyword that populates all relevant posts that use that hashtag. So some people do search for content based on hashtags. So they'll, like, search in the search engine, you know, hashtag I keep using Santa Barbara, but it's just like the first thing that comes to my head. Hashtag Santa Barbara, California, maybe because they want to discover, you know, other small businesses that they should visit before they come to Santa Barbara. So they'll see, okay, like, you know, these posts are shared by these accounts. Who are these accounts? So that's great for discoverability because you show up, you know, for that keyword or whatever. So what was that the only question? Did I answer that question?
Yeah, so and so what is the next big question that we're getting a bunch is, what's the best way to get followers? How do you get people to care about you and follow you?
Keep showing up and entertain, inform. And I think you have to be really clear about what makes you different, like I said in the bio, and you have to just keep posting, be consistent. You don't have to post 5 times a day or 30 times. I mean, not 5 times a day, 5 times a week. You don't have to post 30 times a week. If you can only show up 3 times a week or once a week, that's better than nothing. Better than you showing up every single day and then just totally dropping off for like a month or something. So be consistent, engage with your followers, like comment and like their stuff, and make sure it's, you know, genuine engagement, because then people can tell if you're just trying to like comment on their stuff to get engagement back on your Instagram account. I would say create a lot of friendships on Instagram, you know, other brands or perhaps public figures or influencers or niche accounts that share the same audience but maybe don't provide the same product or service. I would definitely recommend creating those relationships organically and then working slowly towards, you know, collaborating with each other. You guys can, you know, appear on a podcast episode together or do a giveaway together or something else of that nature. Collaboration, I think, is really key for organic growth. And you just have to keep honing your message. Like with the list of questions that I had included, that will really be key for you to be sticking to your message and being really clear about what makes you different and what value you have to offer. And just keep experimenting. Like it's a constant process of elimination and experimentation. So be patient and know that it's a long game. And also with that, all of that said, I think people focus so much on number of followers as the most important thing. So I like to tell people that, having 10,000 fake followers versus like 2,000 or maybe even 1,000 real followers that like purchase your product and, are brand evangelists, like that is way more valuable than having 10,000 fake followers. It's just like, I think I included a screenshot of one of my posts, like $10,000 Monopoly money. It doesn't mean anything. It's a vanity metric. It makes you feel good, but it doesn't add anything to your bottom line at all. So just to keep that in mind with that advice that I'm giving you about follower metrics.
So we had another question about the metrics. What are the measurements that you look at to tell if a post is doing better or worse?
It always helps to look at reach and engagement. And saves, so comments and likes, saves, DMs, so you'll see if somebody is sending it to other people. Those are things that I like to look at. But then if you're more focused on getting maybe it really depends on the goal, but if you're focused more on getting sales, I would maybe correlate it to web traffic to a certain landing page, and then looking at the path that they take in your Google Analytics to see where they've stopped. Also, maybe the number of direct messages that I receive based on that post. Yeah, so those are things that those metrics really depend on whatever goals you have.
Great. I know that Instagram links up well with Facebook since Facebook owns Instagram. Any tips on cross-platform management if you also use Pinterest, LinkedIn, or others?
I would use a social media management software. What I actually use for all my clients is Sprout Social, but it is very expensive for a lot of people. So like I've mentioned later, I think they do Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook, but they don't do LinkedIn. And later is free. So maybe that's something that you would want to keep in mind playing around with later, and then, scheduling posts individually for LinkedIn. But yeah, those are different options.
Here's a question of my own. So if I have a piece of content, let's say I wrote an article, is my technique and my language in those posts on the different platforms, is that language different?
No. Maybe the length and the direction that you take in those posts are different, but I think the tone should remain the same.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How do people see tagged posts?
Oh, just like I said, go over to the third tab on the right of your Instagram account, or whoever's Instagram account, just tap this tab on the right, and then you can see all the tagged posts.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What is good hashtag etiquette? Can I just add all 30 to the end of my post? Or I heard people tend to put hashtags in a comment immediately following the post.
Yeah, you can do either or. I put it as the first comment only because it truncates it and it makes it look clean. Whereas if you have it in the caption, you'll see all of those hashtags at the bottom. In terms of efficacy, it's the same. I just like to have it in the first comment because it looks cleaner. Because like I said, it truncates it.
Those are all of our questions. So pop some more questions in that Q&A, and if you happen to put it in the chat box and I missed it, pop it over to that Q&A.
I love these questions, guys. This is awesome.
They're really good questions.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not seeing anything. We may,
Okay.
Here we go. Do the hashtags and comments work the same as if it's in the post?
I've seen differing opinions on this and different entities doing research. I think they're pretty much the same. You can experiment. Like I said, it depends, but I think it's pretty much the same.
Great. All right, I think we did good work today.
I think so too. Thank you so much for moderating.
You're welcome. Oh, one more question. Keep them coming, guys. All tags are public, question, even if my account is private?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think it's public if your account is private.
I have another question for myself.
Mhm.
As Emily is a human being, right, with friends and family. Emily is also a leader in whatever, who a leader in the community. Is it right for me to have two Instagram accounts, one for Emily the human being where I share pictures of my dog, and one for Emily the leader where I share my thoughts, or should it be combined?
I think it should be separate. Just because it's nice to have that creative outlet when you do want to share with friends and family. You can have the personal content bleed into the leadership Emily, so that people have more of that personal connection, but I think it's important to keep it separate. Yeah, because then I think you start diluting your message as leadership Emily.
Thank you.
The personal content. Mm-hmm.
Guess I know what I'll be doing today, starting with Instagram. Let's see. Oh, this is from Brianne on our team. Do you want to share the same content on your different platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube?
Not always, because there are some instances where maybe somebody wrote an article about you, and it may be more difficult to share to Instagram. So, I mean, well, you could still share it to Instagram. You would just kind of create a graphic or share a photo to kind of announce that. Let's say if you're a retail business and you do wholesale and retail, right? So let's say you sell jewelry to a young demographic age 18 to 24, and you receive an industry mention, which is like a big deal for you, but it speaks more to like maybe like those in the wholesale industry or in fashion or whatever. It wouldn't make sense to really share that on your Instagram account. It would make more sense to share that to LinkedIn and to maybe more professional outlets. So I think I would say that, to keep that in mind. And then also for YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and like video content, if you are sharing YouTube video that's like 30 minutes long, that's obviously not going to work for Instagram. So I guess my answer is figuring out more so how to repurpose that content if it's going to appeal to, the right audience.
And so Brianne specifically is asking about music videos. If you're a musician, what's the different kind of content you share to different platforms?
Well, what's the purpose of being on those different platforms? Is it to get more, like music sales or something? And then who are you speaking to on those different platforms?
Brianne, you're just going to have to unmute yourself and answer. She hates doing that during the webinar.
I really do. So I help with social media for a friend who's a musician. He's a composer, and he's just building up his following right now.
Nice.
And hoping to get more contacts to get sales of mostly arrangements that he writes.
Okay.
As well as original music. And so he'd been posting like the video link on Facebook and mentioning it in Instagram. And so wondering if he should post the video in Instagram through Instagram TV, or if he does that, if he should still post on Facebook at the same time, and that kind of crossover, if you keep it the same or different.
I think for Instagram, maybe you could do a snippet and see how that performs, and then also do the full video on IGTV and see how that performs. So compare that to figure out which would work better. And then for Facebook, I would say the same thing. Just, but I wouldn't link, like Facebook doesn't like it when you link a YouTube video to like Facebook. They want you to host your video natively on Facebook. So I would say to share the actual video file on Facebook too.
Okay, thank you.
Stories versus standard posts. What grabs people's attention?
I think both do. It's just the argument for stories is that it has more visibility. It may be easier to use to access more of your followers because it shows up at the top of your Instagram, your personal Instagram feed. So that's the only thing I would say. What I like to think of for stories versus feed posts is not, you know, posts versus stories, but more how do we use both to amplify what we're already sharing. So if you're sharing a post for that day, I would do a series of stories for that day as well, maybe providing more context or like introducing people to like whatever meat and potatoes that you're sharing in your Instagram posts and directing people to the Instagram post. So I kind of see the stories as a way to like get the most people and be like, hey, it's a new post, go check out my new post, and then you can get them on the post.
So stories is like the teaser, and then meat and potatoes goes in the post.
And it can go the other way around too. It's really just it's like there's so many different ways to tell a story. You can just kind of think of the different media that you have access to. So I think that's what I would say. I hope that makes sense. Like, because you can have the meat and potatoes in all of the stories, and maybe you're sharing, maybe you're trying to direct people to the stories. It really kind of depends. You can play around with it.
Is there a tonal difference between what you put in stories and what you put in posts?
Yeah, stories can be much more casual and off the cuff, and can be a great place for more content curation where you're resharing other people's posts. But I would still make sure that the brand voice remains in the same vein.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's important to be concerned about the overall look of your feed in reference to how people will see it when they scroll through?
I think this is where I battle it out with myself in my head, because I know from experience that it's not that big of a deal. It's not that important, but I think I just like it to look really clean. I don't think it's of grave importance. It's not the number one priority, but kind of like what I did mention with the brand style guide, I think for the intent of having memorable content that speaks directly to your brand without it being branded, so to say, like that would be my argument for having a cohesive feed.
Can you, what does that look like? Because it, you know, my Instagram is just a bunch of different squares. So is it that my posts need, because I'm following my brand guidelines, then it creates a cohesive look?
Yeah, so I'm thinking just in the sense of, let's say one day you share a social graphic and maybe you want to like use your brand colors and use your brand fonts, and then another day if you share like a photo of you, for example, let's say the text graphic is, well, I'll just use that brand style guide that I had included over here. Like I said, if you use these colors in your social graphics and then you share a photo in the next post, just using like a warmer filter, or yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to say in terms of like a consistent feel and look where it has the same kind of color palette more or less, where although, and then maybe if you're sharing more like text social graphics where it's like black and white, maybe in the next photo having something where it's a lot of white space in the background and just like a very clean aesthetic, and then just like a very simple, I don't know, subject or something like that. But there's so many ways you can go about it, and I think that's where it helps to just research what other accounts are doing and getting inspiration from that. Because sometimes I've seen people have a content cadence where they'll intentionally create contrast between posts, where it'll be like white space and then like very colorful photo and then more white space and then a very colorful photo. So it really all depends on what you're trying to achieve.
It's more about what you talked about, taking that step back and creating a plan than just doing it willy-nilly.
Right. Yeah.
Which flows perfectly into our next question. When should I make an IG account? What steps for my business should I have completed prior to making my IG account? Good question.
I think that if you're nearing, let's say your business isn't ready yet it's not open for business yet, but you're like maybe within a few months of it, or like 1 month of it, I would say to create the Instagram account and try to create that buzz ahead of time by sharing content. If at all possible, maybe correlating it with some kind of like official campaign launch and adding the teaser in there and trying to get people to sign up to your email list or something to then receive that notifications to let people know that you're open for business and you have a special offer. That's one example I can think of. Yeah.
Well, and you're an EDC consultant, right? So the other thing you can do is call EDC, become a client, and then have them hook you up with Erin. So what's so beautiful about EDC is your tax dollars have already paid for Erin to be available to you to help you do this stuff. So Brianne, if you could pop that hotline number into the chat. Oh, there it is. Thank you. So seriously, I'm an EDC client. My business, 2 of my businesses are EDC clients. It is invaluable. So call them and get on Erin's schedule. Okay, that was my plug for you.
Thank you. I totally forgot.
Do you know any tools for where I can find memes and words relevant to my business for posts outside of my product that will engage followers?
See, I think if you look up like meme generators or something, you can do that. Also, you can repost other memes from other meme accounts, but I say that with a grain of salt. Just make sure that you have proper permission to do that. The paranoid side of me starts thinking about copyright and all that stuff. So I would just say to be very careful and make sure you get permission to share those kinds of things. What I've done to like avoid doing that, which I would not expect everybody to do because it's not easy, but I have been like making memes from stock photos. So that I don't have to worry about like commercial use of any photos I'm resharing. I just use funny stock photos and I'll like add text overlay to it. With some kind of inside joke that I have in mind specific to the industry. That's one way that I haven't had to worry about, violating copyright. So I just wanted to make sure to include that, just to be careful about reusing other people's content. But I think that there are meme generators online.
What do you think about selecting a handful of your ideal customers, your best customers, and then following them and making a study on what their behavior is or the things that they pay attention to?
I think that would be helpful. What you can also do is take it a step further and, do a focus group, like a virtual focus group, or do a survey, and then give them, like a $30 gift card for their hour of time or something. Yeah, that would be another way to actually get that primary data.
I like it. How do I choose new fonts within my post?
Well, you can't change the fonts in your Instagram caption if that's what you're saying. If you were to be creating social graphics, you'd have to do that outside of Instagram. So, one tool you can use is like Canva, which I love.
Yeah, we use Canva too for our company. So give us Canva 101. What is it? What do you like about it? What people can do with it?
It's like graphic design made easy. They come with like hundreds, I don't know, maybe even thousands of preloaded templates and preset sizes for all the social channels that you can think of. And even outside of that, they have templates for like PowerPoint presentations and posters and brochures. It's amazing. And they have preloaded fonts, elements, frames, everything, and stock photos in there too. So it's very easy for me to just kind of within that click a drop down menu and see Instagram. So you just click Instagram post, so it'll be like a square image, and then on the side they'll preload all of these Instagram templates that you can use, and maybe just as a baseline for the structure, and then you can fill and drag and drop other things and change colors and fonts.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to use. And someone asked about the spelling. It's Canva, C-A-N-V-A.
Yep.
I know that we have a paid account because we use it so much, but I think you can get pretty far with the free account. And I don't use it a ton. My employees do, but correct me if I'm wrong. You can build the graphic, let's say, formatted for Instagram, and then it lets you select resize this for Facebook or resize this for this other platform.
I think so. I haven't done that myself. I think I just never thought to do that for some reason. I would just create a new canvas for Facebook, but I would think that you would be able to do that. I'm not sure though.
Brianne's here. She knows everything.
I think resizing is a paid feature, so you can't resize on the free account.
Okay.
Got it. And if you find yourself using it a lot, I mean, I don't think the paid account is prohibitively expensive.
Is it like 10 or 12? I can't remember how much it costs. $10 or $12 a month.
Brianne probably knows that too.
That sounds about right. I only know, I think the yearly cost is about $112, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're through our questions again.
Awesome.
So give EDC a call. They're an incredible resource. You see the phone number here. It's in the chat. It'll also be on the email that everyone receives after this. That will also have a link to the recording. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks guys. This was awesome. Had a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right, take care everyone.
Bye.